Mi mbroma dhe mirë se vini në Real Story. Sigurisht korriku është fundi, për shumë prej nesh, fundi i një sezoni të zakonshëm pune, por për dikë tjetër është dhe fundi i një misioni. Bëhet fjalë për ambasadorin e Mbretërisë Bashkuar, zotin Alistair King Smith, i cili pas pak ditësh largohet nga Shqipëria, por unë kam kënaqësinë para se ai largohet ta kem sërish në studion e Real Story. Zoti ambasador, mi mbroma dhe faleminderit që jeni sonte me ne.
Shumë faleminderit Sokol, është një kënaqësi e madhe të jem me ju sot.
Zoti ambasador, ne gjatë këtyre viteve që keni qenë në Tiranë, kemi qenë disa herë në intervista, në momente të themi të rëndësishme, pasi shumë ngjarje kanë ndodhur gjatë këtyre viteve, qoftë në Shqipëri, por edhe në Mbretërinë e Bashkuar, pra edhe në Britani. Por po e nis nga një temi zhvillim interesant, pasi është nga herët e para që mbreti Karl mban fjalimin e tij në Parlamentin Britanik, siç ndodhi ditën e përkur pas fitores së Partisë Laboriste, pas më shumë se një dekade e gjysmë. Çfarë do të thotë kjo për ju si shtetas britanik, po padyshim çfarë pasojash do ketë edhe për ne, pasi fjalimi i mbretit është dhe temi programi i qeverisë së re laboriste të zotit Starmer.
Well, I'm delighted that I've had such an interesting time in Albania. Obviously, over the last 3 years, as you say, there have been all sorts of interesting events. And today, seeing the state opening of Parliament, when the King reads out the government's priorities and the legislation and the legislative agenda that will be set out, with both houses of Parliament coming together. You probably have seen the pictures of the wonderful pageantry that we still lay on as part of the, I think, very important soft power of the United Kingdom. But it's also a really important moment in time because, as you say, after many years, the Labour Party are back in power and they've set out a very ambitious agenda of change. And so we're now crystallising that agenda. You'll have seen they've made growth and economic development both in the United Kingdom but also internationally, one of their top priorities. Also on security, continuing work, but also focusing on border security and really revamping our system on that. But then also refreshing our connections internationally. You'll have seen they've talked about a reset with Europe. And of course, this week, we also are hosting the European political community, and all European leaders will be in London this evening, and the King will be hosting them tonight.
Në fakt shumë interesante temi qëndrimi I ri që duket që laboristët po hedhin mbi Europën, pasi sigurisht ju e dini që ka viti 2016 kur britanikët votuan pro Brexit, nuk është se nuk ka patur her pas here ide dhe mendime që ndoshta referendumi duhet mbajtur edhe një herë, dhe pikërisht një qëndrim I tillë rihodhi Britaninë e Madhe në zgjedhjet ku Boris Johnson fitoi shumë thellë. Ndërkohë që zoti Starmer duket që ka një qëndrim më realist sa I përket raporteve me Europën. Por nuk bëhet fjala apo për një rikthim të Britanisë Madhe në Bashkimin Evropian.
So the government have been very clear that obviously the decision that was taken was the decision to leave the European Union, and that is the position of the new government as well as previous governments. But of course, what we do want to see is a really strong relationship, both with European institutions, but also with all member states of the European Union and wider Europe. And we think that's a really important part. And we think the UK can play a really important part as a key member of the European family. But of course, yes, the European Union is one set of dimensions, but it's also about European citizens across the continent, including in Albania.
Zotë ambasador, me qëra fjalët tek Shqipëria, temi jo thjesht konservatorët, por veçanërisht kryeministri I fundit Rishi Sunak pati një marrëdhënie shumë të mirë me Shqipërinë. Unë nënshkrua një marrëveshje midis dy vendeve ku ju keni qenë shumë aktiv për sa I përket emigracionit, dhe një marrëveshje që besoj dhe ju si diplomat duhet jeni krenar, sepse është nga ato marrëveshje që patë rezultat konkret në më pak se 2 vjet, kur emigracioni palishëm shqiptar është reduktuar në kuotat minimale, dhe ajo që shoh unë është që avionët që ikin nga Tirana drejt Londrës janë plot, por rikthehen sërish plot. Pra duket që ka një farë temi normalizimi sa I përket lëvizjes së shqiptarëve drejt Mbretërisë Bashkuar falë kësaj marrëveshje apo jo?
Well, it's a very good point, Sokol, because as I was saying, I've had a fantastic time in Albania over 3 years. Of course, there have been ups and downs, some of them slightly unexpected, and we'll maybe come back to those. But actually, as you say, I think the joint communique that the two governments have signed and the way that we have framed our relationship is really important. We have translated a partnership into a real friendship. And I think that is now flourishing. And in fact, I was just hosting an event last night, and we were reviewing the progress in actually a relatively short time over the last 18 months, 2 years, where we've really intensified collaboration. And so we now see that flourishing in a number of practical ways and really translating into some real results. And I think one of the proudest things that I've felt over the last 3 years is how we've really shifted the focus to the north of Albania, investing in the country, investing in young people, but not just in words and saying that people matter, but really giving practical skills, providing job opportunities, growing businesses, entrepreneurs, and seeing young people able to have different options for the future. And for me, and going around the north and going around the country, I think that's been the most satisfying thing.
Në fakt, ne kur kemi diskutuar marrëveshjen e përbashkët midis dy qeverive, ju thatë që keni thënë intervistat e tjera që temi ulja e emigracionit, e mundësive të emigracionit pa lishëm të sjellin në rritje të mundësive të punësimit lishëm për shqiptarët aty ku Britania e Madhe ka nevojë, kuptohet, ku tregu a ka ndodhur kjo realisht?
So, I mean, as you say, the numbers have really dropped. I think we were all shocked by over 12,000 Albanians suddenly going illegally in 2022. But we've been really pleased that the collective efforts by the British and Albanian governments and really working in a mode of collaboration have transformed that. So last year it dropped to under 1,000, this year under 150. So we need to maintain that. We need to really keep up those efforts. What I'm really pleased about is I think the new government in the UK is committed not just to sustain what we've done, so the joint migration task force that we've got is a real model. Tomorrow, your Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of Italy are bringing some of the European leaders together at the European political community that we're hosting, our Prime Minister is hosting, that basically will then be having a discussion about, well, where are the examples where we've actually managed to tackle migration well? And you know, there are not that many good examples, but what the UK and Albania has done has been really, really important.